right. Woohoo. Hello, hello. Welcome, Rob. Welcome to the Social Video Playbook.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. For everybody that's tuning in, welcome back to the Social Video Playbook. This is our space for the next 15-ish minutes where we're going to dive into all things social video, all of the yays and nays, what has and hasn't been working. I mean, it is evolving very fast. I swear every time I chat with somebody, there's something new that has happened with AI or video in the last few days. So it's going to be good. This is the space where you can learn all of the different insights about what's happening, coming from real leaders who are actively actually working on social video, analyzing it, understanding the content, how this works with brands, creators, companies as a whole, and what is the moves that they're making across the space. So I'm Elizabeth. I'm head of growth at Viral Moment. I'm the host of the Social Video Playbook. And here with me today is Rob Hanson from KDRP. Rob, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. Yeah, so I'm Rob Hanson. I have a pretty dynamic background in terms of marketing. I'd call myself a full stack marketer, but with an emphasis on social media. And then over the last 6-ish or so years, an emphasis on social intelligence and listening. And that's what I've done for the extent of my time here at Keurig Dr. Pepper, leading our social intelligence practice. And that's been from its inception in 2019 to where it is today. And that is fully integrating social video and understanding how kind of video correlates to our laundry list of brands that we have at KDP.
Yeah, and you have a lot and you've done some amazing work we've seen. So very cool. I also love this like full stack marketer thing. I'm going to snag that.
I attributed that to all of my background in tech startups where you have to wear every single hat, as you I'm sure can relate. So it's one of those things where, depending on the day or the week, my role changed a little bit in previous roles. Since I've been at KDP, it's been always on social intelligence.
I love that. Thank you so much for the background. I'm excited to dive into some of these insights. So let's just do it. The big picture, we're going to zoom out for a minute. You have a lot going on with social video, with marketing in general, and especially in the insight space too. So what do you think is the number one shift across your industry that you're seeing that brands just aren't ready for?
Yeah, I'll probably say AI too many times during this conversation, but I think in general, like there's still just this misunderstanding of like where AI intersects with HI and HI being human intelligence. So I think in general, there's this sort of noticeable pivot from wanting to understand like how many people see your brand in video on social. And now it's really more about like how many people talk about your brand. And then from there, understanding those are like the most influential. And so that's a pivot that I've seen in the industry is moving from directionally like, where is my brand to, okay, actually, how often and frequently is my brand being talked about? Because I think that's like true indicator of brand growth and recognition and understanding like kind of talk value holistically.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you see that social video is changing the way that brands are making decisions?
It's blurring the lines for me personally. Like I think what we would consider historically as a quote unquote mention on social media in video versus what is an actual post that's dedicated or about a brand. And so how do we think about that nuance of what's in the background of a video and in the video content relative to what would maybe be a dedicated mention or a post about a specific brand? So for example, in my day-to-day, if we see a celebrity share a video online from in their kitchen making breakfast or something like that, and there happens to be a Keurig brewer in the background, that's something that we still want to be able to understand and glean insight around, because that could potentially lead to a future celebrity ambassador partnership. So I think it's interesting how you think about where social video is and how much there really is from like a content perspective to break down, especially from a brand's perspective. There's just a lot you can think about when it comes to what the content you're seeing in an actual video is.
Yeah, it's like exponential. If a celebrity tweeted something, you don't see in the background that they have Keurig behind them, they're holding a Dr. Pepper, or like they're whatever, they're wearing a Nike t-shirt. You don't see that. But now you have this abundance of content to go along with the context. Yeah, that is a lot. So maybe we've already answered our own question, but maybe it's different. What's the biggest challenge for you across social video right now? Is it understanding?
Yeah, I think, it's like kind of finding that sort of balance of breadth and depth, alluding to this notion of there's a ton of video content out there. The context and the content of it can vary drastically in how that is relevant to your brand or your competitors that you're trying to glean insight around. But I think for many brands, you really want to know about the viral clips that involve or feature something that you care about. And that's priority number one. And then everything else is in between. So it's a lot of kind of boiling the ocean while prioritizing what's most important that I found. I think finding that middle ground for now has been my goal and my focus area. The mentality for me as well has been like, we'd rather have more data than less, and then make decisions and determinations from there. So, it's this challenge of kind of feeling overwhelmed, but also there's also a concern, like, do we have enough? Are we seeing everything? And it's still impossible, I think, to see everything, but trying to get as close to that as possible to the end goal.
Yeah. Yeah. Seeing everything would be nice, but also like overwhelming. There's just TikTok alone, I think there's like 1 million videos uploaded a day. And as I say that, I actually think that's too low.
Yeah. Agreed.
It's a lot. So what are you doing? How are you facing these challenges? Can you give some tips on stuff that's worked or like what hasn't worked?
Yeah, I think there's an approach of blending what's available to us from a tech perspective, but then it's also, as I alluded to, what can we use and leverage from an AI perspective? And then also, what are we doing with sort of hands-on keyboards just from the human element? So I think for us, it's a blend of the tech that we do have in place. And then also it's as simple, but also not as simple as like our personal social feeds and algorithms to try to understand where our brands are showing up and how can we train our tech and our algorithms and AI to show us what's most important, what's most relevant. I still think we have room to grow there, and there's an opportunity to improve that, but the tech is getting better. And I think as individuals and the social intelligence practitioners, we're getting more advanced as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of really cool tech come out as well, especially with the abundance of our keyword today, AI, running across everything.
Yeah.
So if you had unlimited resources, like anything,
yeah,
what would you do? What would you do or build or buy to solve these problems for you?
Yeah, I think I would just like test all the tech that's out there today, try to figure out what worked best for us in our different use cases. I'd also like hand over a bunch of cash to TikTok to be like, here, open an API so that we can all have access and enjoy the data that everyone is asking for on a consistent basis. But I think also too, you have to take into consideration, like, you're only going to get told, so you're only going to get delivered so much information from the tech. And so I'd still think there's that necessary human element to it, and having just adequate resources to boil that ocean and to be able to digest all of that video content still requires just more people and more resources from a kind of like hands-on keys perspective. So I think, yeah, if I could have everything, it would be just more tech, more people, and better APIs.
There you go. Yeah. So listen up, ByteDance. We're going to come to you with some money whenever we have it.
Yeah.
So I want to get into some ways that you've seen this be successful or fail, if you have any of that coming from your perspective. But what's a common mistake that brands make when using or interpreting social video data?
Yeah, I think typically a lot of the assumptions and like around performance is very black and white. And so that's where I think a lot of people can get stuck in interpreting the social video data and not really tapping into social video for what it's meant to be and like what it's supposed to be truly used for, which is a real-time feedback loop. And I'm speaking on behalf of brands, but so if you're like not listening to what consumers are making about you, you're missing out on that emotional narrative piece that's really tied to brand perception. And so the longer that goes on, the less sort of insight that you'll be able to realize from what is only an increasing data pool from a video perspective. There's just so much video content, as we joked about, but I think using it the right way and then emphasizing that kind of notion of it being a real-time feedback loop is a mistake that is being made, I think, too often now.
Oh, yeah, I like that. Like almost looking too closely into what's happening right now versus the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Looking at these little snippets.
Yeah.
So what do you think the most important thing is that brands should actually be measuring?
My answer to this question is maybe a little unique, but I honestly believe it's the comment section. Like, I think in video, the comment section is an untapped resource for insight. Social video is the vessel, but the comment section, I think, is where a lot of the actual takeaways and narratives come to fruition. So I think like analyzing a comment section within video for sentiment and what's the positive, negative kind of correlation of the commentary, what's the relevance of the commentary to the subject matter of the video? Because if it's a video about your brand, If people are commenting about that, or they're just spewing off about random unrelated subject matter, then it's maybe not the most helpful resource. And then think about overall consensus. So what's actually being said in the comment section relative to the other commenters. And so I think in general, that's a kind of a very underrated approach to measurement. And I think it's relatively new, kind of the notion of listening to the comment section. It's not something that traditional social intelligence and social listening has really ever done well because of everything being text-based and based off of Boolean. I think underlying message and narrative for me is engagement quality is like a better metric than views. And I think comments that say things like, hey, I've been asking for this, or finally a brand gets it, I think those are like significantly more valuable than like a million passive views on a video.
Yeah, I completely agree. We've watched like the whole 4 seasons baby trend that happened last year. That went off because of the comments.
Yep.
There's so many things that happen within the comments on these stories. Candy salads took a shift because of the comments. Like you watch this whole progression happen there. And I agree. I think it's really important watching the velocity of the comments, understanding what people are saying. It's a great insight. So you're working with a lot of leaders, some big brands, and some big thoughts happening. What is an underrated insight that leaders in your field should act on now if they're not already acting on it?
Yeah, it builds off of the notion of the comment section, but I think looking beyond views or likes or engagements on video to determine, hey, which one should we care about the most? And I think it's more of an approach of starting to maybe develop like a custom taxonomy or analysis approach around like the consumer responses to social video. Yeah. So it's not just your own, but UGC in general, understanding kind of the tone, or if there's requests or if there's confusion or product feedback. I think in general, social video can certainly be this gold mine for product development opportunities, messaging. If you want to refine messaging or tweak any copy from a marketing perspective, you can also use it as a way to identify who are the most loyal communities or groups of consumers, and maybe you can tap into those before it becomes this broader trend. So I think in general, like there's just this connection that needs to be made between the video content itself and what outside of kind of those North Star metrics that a lot of people point to in social video, but those kind of like consumer oriented insights that I think can be really developed or informed from the kind of consumer response.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a common assumption that you see about social video that's just completely wrong, whether that's like other people in your field or maybe like people that you have to report up to and you're just like, that's not how that works?
Yeah, I think it's video going viral doesn't necessarily mean it drove like the right message for your brand or it moved the brand in a direction that was favorable. So yeah, this correlation of virality to value is, I think, a balancing act that a lot of brands have to understand and really break down specific to their brand, their category. That's super important. I think the more you assume like high viewership with success, by social listeners, we see like virality can sometimes be like the wrong audience, or it can surface crisis or brand risks. But I think it's, again, finding that sweet spot of when is a video viral for the right reasons, and does the messaging that's integrated in the video actually help my brand or reinforce messaging or prove or disprove a hypothesis. I think you can go through and check a lot of boxes to understand really is the virality equated to value or vice versa. And I think that's just an assumption that a lot of people make around, hey, it's got a lot of views, so this must be great.
Yeah. And is it the right views from the right audience? If you're viral in a segment of people that like don't actually want to buy your product, it's then why am I here?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So earlier I had asked if you were to have anything in the world, but I want to limit you. If you were to just get one thing this year, so it already exists in some capacity, that would make social video just easier for you, what would that be?
Yeah, I think the notion of technology and specifically artificial intelligence that helps break down the relevancy of the video content. And I'll explain what that means. But for me, it's you see a video that maybe your brand's logo is tagged in and you're able to break that down. Like, okay, here's a video that has, well, you say Dr. Pepper as the brand that's tagged in there, but it's only because somebody in the background of the video was wearing a Dr. Pepper t-shirt. And in the video itself, the content itself had nothing to do with the Dr. Pepper brand. There was no subtle or direct reference of the brand, no integration of like hashtag Dr. Pepper or tagging of the brand's handle on the platform. I would love to be able to leverage relevancy as a key filter within larger video data sets to be able to understand what's the most important video content that we want to hone in on and focus without necessarily excluding the subtle stuff that still is valuable. Like I mentioned earlier, the situation with a celebrity in their kitchen making breakfast, and there's a product that's on their kitchen table or something that we would want to be made aware of. So I think it's just a grading scale or like an AI integrated sort of automation that helps kind of grade relevancy relative to the social video.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good point. If someone's just randomly wearing your t-shirt, but they're talking about a book review, like
Yeah.
about something totally different, you're like, do I really care? I'm not quite too sure. That's awesome. Rob, I do have a bonus question for you. You've done a lot. You've worked with some big brands, small brands. You've been really into this for a long time. I'd love to know if there is a lesson that you've learned from navigating in this space that you'd want to share with others looking to come up and be Rob.
I think it's easy to become biased, especially depending on how long you've worked with a certain brand or brands relative to being like, oh, this is the type of video that has legs. You can understand and try to predict the virality. But at the end of the day, like I think lessons learned is that every piece of content, it has unique traits to it. And there's always room for interpretation and making assumptions. But one lesson I've learned is it was really hard for me to predict, hey, I think this might go viral. And one of the best examples I think is this was last year. There was a viral trend with Dr. Pepper pickles as like a flavor profile. People were literally putting pickles in their Dr. Pepper, mixing pickle juice with Dr. Pepper. And it did spike very quickly, but it was one of those things where I was like, this seems too niche to really have any type of trajectory behind it. And I think taking each instance with a grain of salt and trying to put biases aside is really important, and a lesson that I've learned. And I can make assumptions on what I think is cool or deemed viral or has the potential to be viral, but taking the brand hat off or making assumptions isn't always the best route. And so I think just kind of keeping an open mind and setting aside those biases is extremely important, especially because videos go viral all the time for unknown reasons. It's just kind of part of the nature of it.
It's true. And I love to reference that, like the rug cleaning videos,
Yeah.
millions of views. But
Yes.
honestly, like, why are these viral? I don't know.
Yeah.
I love them. They're so satisfying.
Yep.
Rob, it has been great talking to you. Thank you so much for giving us 15-ish minutes of your time. If anybody wants to follow Rob, his LinkedIn profile is scrolling across the screen here, and I'll drop it in the show note comments as well if you are listening on a podcast style instead of a webinar style version of this playbook. But Rob, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to chatting again soon.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, have a good one.
Bye.